Welcome back, everybody, to the Havoc Sports Podcast. I am half of your host, and Colton McCain, and I am here with my other co-host, Harry Johnston.
How about them Celtics? Let's get it, boys. That's what I'm talking
And
about.
nobody cares about that, so we're going to move right into this episode. And today's episode is going to be very interesting. We're going to be discussing both mine and Harry's top 15 all-time NBA players. And I made this list, and I kind of scratched my head at my own list, but we're sticking with it.
Yeah, I mean, mine's pretty. I don't know. I kind of threw it together, and now I'm looking at it. It's pretty decent. There's some in here that are pretty interchangeable.
Yeah,
So
for
like
sure.
some of these will be like 4 could be 5, 5 could be 4, and so on. And to get us started, these both are interchangeable at 1 too. I mean,
Yeah.
you got Michael Jordan. I got Michael Jordan at 1.
Yeah.
And then I got LeBron at 2. But both of those guys, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a generation
Yeah,
passed
because we're
down.
vice versa. I got LeBron at 1. I got Jordan at 2.
Yeah, and
I
pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
there.
I mean, it's.
No one else is even close.
I think really you could have put 1 and 1 and just been satisfied and moved
Yeah,
on. And
they're both goats.
yeah,
but-
that's the list doesn't start. The list starts at like 3 and down.
Yeah, who do you have at 3?
I put Kareem at 3.
That's who I have at 3.
I got Kareem at 3. I think the scoring title helps. He has a chip.
He was successful on 2
Yeah,
teams.
yeah, he
was on the Bucks and the Lakers.
Scoring title doesn't count now, but he had the scoring title for so long.
Right.
I feel like he's like a solid 3.
Yeah, he's probably I would say the best. According to our list, the best big man in
Yeah.
NBA history.
Yeah.
Moving on to
Skyhook.
4. I got Steph.
I also have Steph.
I have Steph Curry, and that's just because of the he has the chips to talk for it, but
Yeah.
just the impact he's made
Oh yeah.
on today's
The
game.
legacy. Everybody wants to be Steph.
Yeah, and everybody ever since Steph started shooting threes every possession,
He
now the
changed the game.
game's kind of moving on to a 3-point line game.
And he's a lot of times you can look at a bunch of players responsible for changing the way a game's played, but Steph is single-handedly responsible
Yeah.
for the changing of the game. James
another-
Harden came after. They
Yeah.
all came after.
James Harden, I was going to mention him right there. It's just because no one really realized that he's the one that really invented the step back in your
Yeah.
mouth 3. I'm going
But-
to shoot it no matter
But
what.
that whole shooting threes as the regular, where you have more 3-point field goals than you have even close to regular field goals, that was Steph.
Yeah.
And the championships, he finally got the Finals MVP. He should have had way more Finals MVPs than what he had. Personally, in my thinking, like Iguodala should have never had one. KD, his 2, fine, but Steph should have at least had 2 Finals MVPs.
That Iguodala, gosh,
Yeah,
I
he
couldn't
did not
believe
stop
that.
LeBron. He didn't limit LeBron.
No.
Number 5.
5, I got Magic.
Ooh.
I got Magic just
okay.
because of the fact that he kind of changed the game in a way of playmaking wise.
Yeah.
He was kind of a pass first type of person,
Yeah.
and it kind of made like people like Rajon Rondo and all those big guys that were known to have assists. You know,
And he
that's-
was like 6 foot. He was tall.
Yeah, he was a big guard,
Yeah,
and that's what
he-
made the guard position look
Yeah.
at 6'2", 6'1", 6 foot people. Those guys
Yeah.
are small now in the league. So
I don't have Magic at my 5. We'll get to him. He is on my list. I have someone who I think is single-handedly the most underrated, underappreciated player in the NBA of history.
Tim Duncan,
Tim Duncan.
I have him next.
I think that many championships. I'm pretty sure he has MVPs.
Yeah, I think he had 1 or 2. He had
Finals
DPOI,
MVPs.
didn't he?
I think so.
Didn't he win?
Like if you know Tim Duncan's name and you think 5 is crazy, I am telling you, go look at Tim Duncan's accolades and stats, and you'll be like, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, like I said, I have him at
Yeah.
6. They're they could be interchangeable.
Yeah.
We grew up on watching the Spurs.
Yeah.
Have
you,
that
you have
dynasty.
him at 6, and I have Magic at 6.
Yeah, so those are 2 are
Yeah.
interchangeable there, but just the team that they built around him
Yeah.
and
even
the way that he had I don't even know if was he a. I don't even know if he was a top 5 pick. Was he?
I don't know, because he was drafted before we were born.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I mean,
I
just
don't,
the way he impacted the game too.
and the way he helped in taking down the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, all throughout his career was just a
He's
baller,
a bucket.
a low key baller.
Yeah. So, like I said, you had Tim
I-
at 5.
Yep.
I had Magic at 5. You have Magic at 6. I have Tim at
Yeah,
6. So
very
we'll
interchangeable.
move on to 7. At 7, I have Shaq.
I also have Shaq.
Shaq in a way that, these people like Joel Embiid,
Yeah.
all these guys that are dominant in the paint. Imagine that times like 7, and that's
Yeah.
what
I mean,
gives you Shaq.
I think Shaq is the most dominant center of all time.
Yeah.
I think had he put in, I'm not saying he didn't put in work ethic, but had he maintained his body from the Lakers through his career, that dude would have 12 championships.
Yeah. I mean, if he had a better team on Orlando, he would have been a lot better too.
Yeah, I mean, I think a
It's
lot
kind
of
of like
people.
Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might look at Shaq at 7 and kind of say it's crazy, but I don't think so.
Yeah, he's the most dominant
He's
big of all
dominant.
time.
He has MVPs. He has numbers.
And like I would say, without, you had Kobe, he had Penny Hardaway, he had
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade, but none of those players would have been as successful as they were in those
No.
years without Shaq. Because
Yeah.
everybody was focused on 3 people guarding Shaq in the paint that leaves
Yeah.
mid-range, that leaves
And
everything else open.
Wade stepped into his element, but I think it's Shaq's mentorship and
Letting them know how to
and
run an
guidance,
offense.
yeah.
Yeah.
speaking of, not to get totally off topic of our list, but you touched on Dwight Howard. You know Dwight Howard wasn't in the top 75 list. He wasn't on the 75th anniversary.
I mean,
I think that's crazy.
it is, but
That's
I mean,
crazy.
besides his Magic years.
Yeah, but you go look at some of the centers that are named off on there.
Yeah, I
You
didn't even
can't
look.
tell me that Dwight Howard's not better than some. But that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah. Dwight Howard, he was decent. I don't know. I kind of felt like he fell off.
I think, well, he rushed himself back. He had that
Yeah.
back surgery and wanted to play with Kobe, and that ruined him. But he
Mhm.
also technically has a championship
With the Lakers?
that you can say he wasn't Magic dominant, but he did have a significant role against.
Right.
I know in like the Jokic matchup, he played a pretty big role there.
Yeah. He fell into this role pretty often, pretty well.
Yeah.
Just so everybody remembers that Magic Dwight Howard, and he was nasty.
Oh, yeah.
But what are we at? 8?
8.
We're at 8. At 8 I got Wilt Chamberlain,
Ooh.
just because of the fact that I never got to watch him play, but
yeah.
just off stats,
Numbers.
off all of
Yeah.
his accolades,
I have the legend of Indiana himself.
Yeah.
I have Larry Legend.
I have him
at
next.
8. I don't know. I think Larry is another person who changed the game. I feel like he's very well known for putting 3-pointers on the map. Obviously not to the advancement that is today, but you see his passing, you see
And the attitude.
Yeah,
He was telling
I mean-
people to go home before they even
Yeah.
played the game, so it's kind of like that, what we call nowadays dog attitude.
Yeah,
It's really what came from him.
he has the chips. You look at some of the people he beat on his way to there. Dog Jordan.
Yeah.
He had to
I don't
beat
think
Magic.
Jordan ever beat him.
No, he never beat.
And he
Never.
would have, because I talked to my dad about Larry, and he said Larry would have a lot more chips if it wasn't for people like Magic's team.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for
Yep.
if he had Jordan in his conference that made him tired before the actual finals. So it's just like,
And he still got some over Magic,
Yeah.
too.
so that rivalry was insane. Like
Yeah.
literally, Larry Bird retired because he didn't have his arch rival Magic
Yeah.
playing anymore. So
Yeah.
I mean, for you to that's big aura right there. It's
Yeah.
just to retire because your arch nemesis is not playing anymore.
Yeah.
And like I said, at 9 I got Larry Bird.
You have Bird at 9. I went Bill Russell at 9.
Yeah,
And I have We're going to get to Wilt. He's on my list, but I have Bill over Wilt solely on the fact that Bill absolutely dogged Wilt years upon years
Yeah.
upon years in the situation that it mattered most. 11 championships.
I wish I would have been able to watch those guys play.
Part of me says yes. Part of me says absolutely not. I probably would have got a headache. Because we don't know how long the quarters were. I've seen some clips from basketball back in the day, and that alone just gives me a headache.
Right.
And I could play in that era.
Yeah, they weren't. They were strictly you're driving to the rim and just chucking it up the whole time.
Plumber sky hooks, some of the 3-point. I guess they didn't have a 3-point line, but the deeper shots, some of their jump shots are some
Ferocious.
of the worst things I've ever seen.
We thought Sean Marion was bad with his jump shot. Wait till you go back to the 1960s.
Yeah, go look at Bob Cousy and them. It's awful. Yeah. Bill's my 9.
Where are we at? 10?
We're at 10.
And then at 10, I have Bill Russell. You said
he's got to be in the top 10.
Yeah, he's got to. He's changed the game. He changed the game in a way that winning is the most important thing, and that's what he did the most. I think he played in the league 11 seasons and won 10 chips or 9 chips, whatever it was. How many chips did he have total?
11 championships.
Oh, then he played in the league for 13 years.
Yeah, played 13.
So winning 11 finals out of your 13 years playing is insane.
Which I get. Some people say back then, not as many teams. The rules are a lot different, but you also got to think without people like Bill, the NBA is not alive. The NBA doesn't exist.
I mean, the Celtics literally have his number on our jersey, and that's permanent. So
I have Wilt at my 10. He falls just behind Bill. Again, without him, without the crazy stats. Yeah, we didn't see in person. Yeah, there's no footage, but without those two in that rivalry, the NBA doesn't exist it might still exist, but not to the extent of what it is today.
Yeah. And I feel like they kind of paved the way of, the hook shot, the putbacks, all the things that we see in today's game that's just normal came from those two right there.
They stood out.
And, so let's move on to 11.
Yep.
I got Hakeem Olajuwon.
I have Kobe.
Kobe?
I got Kobe.
Which those two are interchangeable. I have him next. But, I don't know. For me, Hakeem, he kind of brought the defensive side of the ball to the centers in a way that no center has been able to. I mean, he was known for just to pat the ball the whole time. And for me, that's kind of what brings me back to, again, today's game and Bam Adebayo. Yeah. Bam Adebayo, Rudy Gobert. Those guys are considered super valuable to their teams, but they wouldn't be as valuable if it wasn't for Hakeem Olajuwon, who on the Rockets was known to play defense.
Yeah. This is something that if you want to put Kobe, for me personally, if you want to put Kobe anywhere from 5 to 11 or 5 back, I'm not going to disagree because 5 championships, he's 5th leading scorer all time. I mean, the more I see him at 11, the more I kind of scratch my head on why is he here. And a big factor to me is Shaq, because Shaq was Batman of that team. But he also had 2 championships without Shaq. He went on a run of 8 straight games of 50 points, 81 points in a game, and you did see that.
Yeah, it was just for me with Kobe, I felt like he kind of had to have some type of superstar in a way to be successful on his team. Because, with Paul Gasol, for instance, he had another dominant big, so he won a couple championships.
I don't think people realize how good Powell was, too.
Yeah, so it was just for me, it was, if he didn't have a 5, he wasn't as impactful as he was.
I feel like, too,
dominant 5.
People wonder why Kobe is not in that GOAT talk. I think it's because when he started, it was Jordan. Then he had that tiny span.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was LeBron.
Yeah.
And so I feel like he didn't have enough time in that super spotlight because it was literally Jordan, 5 years, Bron,
I mean,
instantly.
let's be real here though. I ain't trying to be the Debbie Downer here, but he was. I don't even know if he was considered. He would have been at the bottom of a top 10 if he hadn't died yet. I think
Uh,
once he died, it kind of brought a little bit more. Oh, Kobe
yeah,
was the greatest.
I
Kobe
think.
was the greatest.
Yeah, I think that definitely does bring a lot of hype, but the stats don't lie. I mean, he does have 5 championships, whether it's with the big or not, is still 5. He does still have so many points. Now, granted, when I really started to lock into basketball, I was always a Heat fan and watched D Wade since like 2005 when I was 5 years old. But when I really started to watch was 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember Kobe as an injury-prone
Yeah,
basketball player.
because
I
that's
don't
when the Spurs
remember.
took over, right?
Yeah, I don't remember Kobe.
Yeah.
Like, so I can't say like, oh yeah, I remember watching that, and that's why he's super high. I don't remember Kobe as Kobe. I remember Kobe as a hindrance to the team.
Mm-hmm. And his shot quantity, I felt like he
Yeah.
always shot so many
Yeah.
shots every game.
He scores 40 points, but he shot 85.
Yeah,
And you
100%.
lost by 20. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
that's kind of how.
that's my 11.
And then so my 12 is Kobe.
My 12 is Hakeem.
Yeah, so we
flip-flopped.
kind of have the same
Yeah,
the
same
same
ideas.
Yeah.
And
and
it
then-
is. Hakeem's got 2 chips too.
Yeah, and that was
So-
on a shitty Rocket team too?
Yeah, and everybody absolutely says, "Whoa, Jordan was there." Jordan went there. Bottom line is, hate me if you want. Jordan left because he was too tired to play basketball anymore.
Yeah.
He needed a mental break. He needed a break.
I
Then
mean,
he came back fresh.
having that much success
Yeah.
in a league and
Yeah.
then
And I mean, you gotta have a break. You gotta have a break. I don't. He won 3 championships in a row. I'm not gonna hate on that.
I kind of feel
respect
like that's what
it's due.
LeBron needs almost is like a year off of just recovery and like trying to get
Yeah.
his mental straight.
Yeah, but being 40, you
Don't
you
have
let
much
go for a
time.
year.
Mm-hmm.
That you could really let go.
Yeah. And then
13?
so 13, who you got?
I have Kevin Durant at 13.
Kevin Durant?
I
I
have
don't even have him on
Kevin-
my top
I
15.
have Kevin Durant at 13.
I do not have. I have Oscar Robertson. Robertson, sorry.
Yeah, I have him at 14.
Yeah, I have.
Um,
I mean, you can go ahead and speak for Kevin.
Yeah, this might be hard because I feel like this KD is turning into a Kobe situation where you're starting to remember him for devastating teams wherever
Yeah.
he goes to now. But that OKC, Kevin Durant, he went to Golden State. I get it. His 2 championships, he was on a stacked roster. I get that. But it wasn't like he was carried on that Golden State. You look at Golden State, he was the best player on the Golden State team. Steph was number 2. And I know that's hard to believe because we have Steph at 4. But when KD was there for that short period of time, KD was the most dominant player in the NBA. I don't remember who got all the MVPs. KD was the most dominant. He went, you saw him literally destroy LeBron mentally. He dropped LeBron. Like, LeBron didn't know what to do. So I think people forget how good Kevin Durant is because of the now Kevin Durant, but
He still puts up 30 a game.
his impact, he's the greatest, like, what is he, like 6'10", 7 foot? He's the
Mhm.
greatest
Score.
shooter,
Yeah.
mover, handler that I have seen that is that tall, can take on anyone, get to the basket, shoot over you, shoot a 3.
We might see someone coming up like Victor Wembanyama
Yeah,
in that. You
like
know,
clutch moments. KD was him.
like if
it
he's
was
shooting
him.
that thing at the top of the key, you don't even gotta look. Just say, dang it.
KD was him.
But I have Oscar Robertson,
Yeah.
and I kind of feel like he fits in. If his name, or if he wasn't on such a, I wouldn't say a terrible team, but like if he was on a team like Magic Johnson's,
yeah.
and because he was like the same height as Magic, he had a chip, he got an MVP,
Hmm.
you know, and he was just one of those guys that once again led the league in assists I think
Yeah, I think
half of his
wasn't he
years.
the first one to average a triple double?
Yep.
And then Russ did it.
Mhm. And so,
So
just having that and winning a chip with the team he had,
yeah,
it was kind of like,
and I mean,
this guy's got to be somewhere in the
yeah,
top
and the
15.
thing is, people like say, well, back in that time it was easier to get a triple double. Okay, why didn't Magic do it?
Yeah.
Why didn't Bird do it? Why didn't these guys from the '80s do it?
And that's a big thing is like it no matter what area it is, a triple
Yeah,
double is a triple
averaging
double.
a triple
Yeah.
double is nuts.
10 rebounds as a point guard is
Yeah,
good. So,
yeah,
moving on to 14,
15. Oh, who do you have at 14? 'Cause-
Julius
'cause
Irving.
I
I
have
have Dr. J.
I have Oscar Robinson at 14.
Yeah. I have
And
Dr. J.
You nailed that on the head. Dr. J.
Dr. J. I
Dr.
mean,
J.
he's one that I would say had one of the biggest impacts in the game as well with
Yeah.
dunking. I mean, he's the one that made dunking so
Dunking in that
flashy.
that he's got that famous clip of the layup
Cradle
under the
too,
hoop.
in the cradle.
Yeah.
And so I think just having him in the list is more based off how he impacted today's
Yeah.
game. And I don't know. I think he won a championship. I'm not really sure. I'm not a big basketball analysis.
I've tried to go back and watch film of Dr. J, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
And now, granted, you have to take it at that time. He was advanced.
He's just an athlete.
Yeah. At this time, if he was in today's league, I don't think he would be playing.
No, probably not.
But for that time, and that's what a lot of people you have to look at it that way. The whole we done with the 90s, we done with the 80s movement is stupid because you have to look at it from them in that time.
Yeah, because, like 20, 30 years from now, people are going to be like,
Yeah.
oh, the 2000s we're
they're
done
gonna
with
be
the
like,
2000s.
LeBron and Steph, these guys suck.
Yeah, so it's just
But
it's just an era thing.
Impact wise, I definitely don't hate him being on the list. You hear a lot of the players, the 90s players talk about their influence was Dr. J. I think Shaq even said like he wanted to be Dr. J.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's just someone I thought that
I like that on the
yeah,
list.
he's not, and he wasn't like he was just dunking. I mean, he was good defensive wise, and he just brought that dunking ability, winning the slam dunk contest, all that stuff, being a gift. And moving on to 15 to wrap it up, I have Jerry West, the guy,
Mr. Logo.
Yeah, Mr. Logo himself. Looking at, I mean, he averaged 20. I think his league average, his whole career is 27 points a game.
Yeah.
Won multiple championships. So it's just, I know we didn't get to watch him. He's the NBA logo for a damn reason. He was once again a white player like Larry that was just a dominant player in the league. He had a jump shot. In today's league, he probably would be just as good in my eyes. He might have to develop more ball skills just because there's so much more moves, but I feel like he at 15, it's not bad for him.
Yeah, that's a good spot. I wanted to put some of my favorite players in there. I wanted to put Dwayne Wade there. I wanted to put Pistol Pete there, even though he's probably not even close to there. Ultimately, I settled with German Jesus. I went Dirk.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I think the 2011 championship is so undervalued at who he played.
And who he played with.
Not only in the finals who he played and beat. He played the Lakers, the very hot, just winning a championship Lakers. I'm pretty sure he swept them.
Yeah.
I think they swept another.
It was either that or 4-1.
But then to go against that hot Miami Heat stacked team.
Yeah, we got to watch that. That was
and dominate.
And the thing was he was the only scorer on the team.
Yeah.
So they would double team Dirk. Doesn't matter. He's shooting right over your head.
He had good role players like Jason Terry, but he was the star.
Yeah.
Like
no other stars on his team.
And I mean, he was so good.
And another impact he had on the game was that turnaround jump shot.
The high knee fader.
Yeah, we see that all the time now.
Dirk fader.
I saw that yesterday in the Celtics game. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, mid-range, boom.
I just think he's one of those guys that are kind of fading and you kind of forget about, but his impact on the game and that championship, he almost had it against Miami. The fact that he lost it to Miami in 2006, he didn't get it. Turnaround 2011, he finally gets another chance against a way better roster than the 2006 Miami Heat, in my opinion. And he gets it done against the Big Three. It's just a crazy story. I think that alone has just so much impact. And obviously he has the stats and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But just the impact of that championship for me was able to push him into 15.
That's what made, like, everybody would say, oh, they got 3 stars on their team. Well, Dirk was a superstar.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Dirk was him in that
he came up with that
he
term of superstar.
Because I think they were down 0-2 to start.
Yeah.
And they roared back and just...
He went stupid. I'll never forget that series. I will never forget that one. But Dirk, I mean, there's a lot of people in real life that I know, like Braxton Tolson, that, you know, that was his favorite player.
Yeah.
Who grew up wanted to be like Dirk.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Dirk was him.
Yeah.
Dirk was him.
So that's a good pick. I didn't really think of Dirk. I
Yeah.
probably could have put him in front of. I would have probably replaced him with Julius Erving.
There's a lot of players when I was
You
looking
know,
through the list.
I was looking at list online, and you don't know how many people I saw put Nikolai Jokic in their top 15. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Are you joking?
Accolades-wise, I could see it. But stats-wise, he ain't even close.
No, that's what I'm saying. Stats-wise, I don't think he's even close to anything.
He's got...
Maybe most triple-doubles.
He's got... Well, I seen some that had Giannis, too.
Yeah, which is absurd. Did you see he made the All-NBA team?
Yeah.
First team?
And Bam didn't make even the third team.
Neither did Jaylen Brown. I think the whole voting scheme has just gone to... I mean, absolutely ruffled.
I'm very... When you look at my list, unless you have made such an impact change, I think I had 3 current NBA players on my list. I don't like putting currents in, especially like Giannis and Jokic. They're still so new to the game. Like, yeah, they played several years. They are still very new and very raw to the game.
Yeah. And that's another thing that it's hard to put current players in there just because you feel like they're still current. Like, they still got time to play.
I hope it doesn't happen, but if Jokic has a career-ending injury, are you really going to look and say, yeah, that was a top 10 all-time career? No. He had 1 championship and 2 MVPs, 3 MVPs.
Yeah, he's won Triple Crown now.
But it's like, are you going to look at that and be like, with the stats and the accolades, yeah, he's top 10?
He might be top 20, top 25.
Maybe, but I ain't putting him top 10.
No, I'm not even. Me personally, I wouldn't even put him in. I can think of another 10 players that are better than him right now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was kind of crazy when I was looking through the list, just trying to build my list. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
That's wild.
That's our top 15 players.
Yeah.
Pretty evened out. I would say we had the same idea. It could have been interchangeable in all the numbers.
Yeah.
Do we know what we're doing for the next episode?
I think we're getting closer to the finals. Probably touch on the playoffs a little bit here and there. Maybe talk about some of the stars, because you got to think now some people are getting their first guaranteed ring.
Yeah, and
someone's getting it.
We might touch on the All NBA teams too.
Yeah,
the first, second, and third team.
Those need some talking about.
Yeah.
Again, they got the awards wrong. Surprise, surprise. The NBA always fails.
You know, I was listening to JJ Redick yesterday when I was watching the game, and you know, like Doris Burke and all them get a vote.
Yeah,
like they get a vote.
Well, we looked it up. It's the broadcasters and reporters. But not coaches, not NBA players. It's broadcasters and reporters. Now some broadcasters, like I think Shaq gets a vote. I think Charles Barkley gets a vote. So some are NBA players.
They're not going to be broadcasters anymore.
No,
that's crazy.
We cannot talk about that on the podcast. That'll break my heart.
Yeah,
it's just,
how do you buy them out and then just not say, hey, just come back for our.
I think they might try to work something out with Barkley, Shaq, and
Ernie.
No,
that's who all I care about. It's Ernie.
Kenny, but Ernie has always been TNT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see Ernie leaving TNT. I see him retiring.
Yeah, which is all right as long as he retires and doesn't go to like some crappy network that doesn't care about him.
It is.
But that's what our next episode next week looks like.
Yeah.
Probably all NBA teams. Touch on the conference finals if they're still going. Maybe the finals if they're
Yeah.
approaching. And we appreciate your guys' viewership, and we appreciate all the support we've got. And we're heading out of here.
Yep.
Peace out.
See ya.